it's a little bit after 10 in the morning on a Thursday, and we have a wonderful Garden State member who offered to do an artist demo on spontaneous watercolor painting. I thought that would be really great for people, so I immediately said yes. He had this slot available. He's a representative for Blick and Utrecht, and he can correct me about the details of that. But he's been a member for a while, and he did a demo for us at Ellerslie where he live painted Bob Saxon. Yeah. And there were stories of Bob and his life and everything as Joe painted him. It was a wonderful event, and we're hoping to do more of these as us old people get more and more comfortable with the technology. I have Judy Hummer is the vice president, and she's helping me. This is my first hosting event. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to give it over to Joe so he can turn his cameras on and such.
I'm
Judy,
going
you
to
have
add this.
unspotlight me.
Okay. Hold on.
Can you make him bigger? How do we make him bigger? There we go.
Bigger.
Right.
There it goes.
Okay.
He's
So,
gonna right. So he's showing two things, and this is being recorded, so we'll edit it down. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay. You can edit it. We'll edit it down, and we'll make it available on the webpage afterwards. So, okay, Joe, take it away.
okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm not going to put on my mug right now, but I have what I have is the palette that I'm going to use. I'll talk about that, and I have the painting, the proposed painting that I'm going to do. I did a sketch already of it. Let's start with the paper. The paper, I'm going to put it on the board and show you. The paper is the mineral paper. Blick sells this, so it's the mineral.
Nice.
Wait, let me see. It's mineral paper. It's 20 sheets, and it's a like there was a paper called like a stone terra skin.
Oh yeah.
This company replaced it. It has a little bit more absorbency to it. It's actually very, very good. I really love using it. So that's what I'm going to be using today. This is a multimedia paper. I'm going to put it by the camera there, and you could use it for a number of things. But today we'll be employing a little bit of watercolor, a little bit of gouache, well, a predominant amount of gouache, and we may go to impasto techniques with acrylic. And they're all the Utrecht colors, of course. And then I'll be using as the main brush for the gouache and the watercolor, I'll be using this fine Kolinsky brush by Dynasty, a number 6 round. I'll be doing that, using that for most of the painting, because this is a small painting to begin with, so it's not very big. I can cover a lot of ground with that little brush. And then I may be using this brush, which is the Blick Master bristle brush, number 2 filbert. I might be using that for the acrylic part. The drawing, what I like to do is usually use a number 4 graphite pencil. So I laid the drawing in with the number 4 pencil. I primarily do that like a little bit more for a demo, because I don't want to be fishing around for something in the, you know, and just you guys watching me draw. If we do it fast enough, I'll just do another drawing for you and show you how I do it. But in the beginning, I just rather have something laid out for me. And the reference for this is on my copy board in front of me, but you guys can't see it. But this is a boat, a dock over there by sea, I want to say above Seabright, around Keyport, around that area. There's a whole bunch of fishing boats over there. And I thought this would be a great scene to do today. So I'm going to do that. And
So there was a quick question of whether, I guess the pencil is 4H or 4B.
4B.
Okay, thank you.
And so I just want to get this in before we get into everything else. I want to make an announcement. Artist of Yardley is having a big plein air competition thing. They have like 55 artists. I don't know, maybe some of you are in it. I'll be the judge, but I'm also doing a workshop for them. If you're interested, we did one last year. It was very successful, sold out, went really well. A 3-day workshop, June 18th through the 20th. And we'll be out there again working on that property. There's so much material there to paint from, but we'll be working either in oil, acrylic, or watercolor, gouache, whatever the artist prefers to do. I don't really care about the medium, but I teach people about ways of seeing it in that workshop. So that's coming up in June. What else did I want to say? Oh, the colors today. The colors that are on the palette are permanent white gouache, Gyurcsak. I'll just put them up here for a minute. Well, no, I better not. That's going to screw me up because of the camera's upside down. Actually, I can't get it any other way. So it's type permanent white. It's brilliant yellow gouache. It's yellow ochre, and then it's a watercolor, the Cad-free orange by Gyurcsak, and it's the cadmium red pure red light pure watercolor, burnt sienna gouache color, turquoise blue gouache, and ultramarine blue gouache. I paint the very.
But Joe, before we go any further, somebody submitted a comment that said that the internet is freezing up. And I think the rest of her message said that if everyone mutes themselves.
Yeah, I muted everybody else. If they, check to see if you're muted. Hopefully you're muted. And then if you turn your video off, just turn off the little camera.
Oh, okay.
For yourself, that might help, or I can turn it off too.
Okay, so those are the gouache and the watercolors that I'm using, and then I'll be possibly using, like I said, the titanium white acrylic and the Cad free yellow deep for highlights. I might be doing that later. So let's get started on this and see how it goes. I don't use paper towels too much anymore. I use a cotton rag, so I'll have that to employ in the painting technique. I'm going to start with the tree line first on the top of the painting, these areas. And I'm going to block that in first. So I'm going to put out one more color. Forgot my ultramarine blue. And if there is glare on the palette, I can turn this a little bit more like that. How's that? Better?
Yes, better.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to start with the background. What I want to do is I want to make the background fall off compared to the rest of the subject matter in the foreground. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the turquoise blue and the yellow ochre together. I'm going to mix that, make a nice muted green, maybe throw just a little bit of orange in there to make it a little bit more muted and pretty cool color. Cool in both ways, temperature and cool, green, nice color. And then I'm gonna block in I'm gonna block, I just want to see, yeah, that looks good, okay, just checking the camera. I'm gonna block in this cooler color. I can even add a little bit of white to it, just to make it fall back for the background. So I'm just using this as a gauge to see how I will get the sky in. And I like to leave open spots in my painting, but today I'm going to be discussing some techniques using opacity, semi-transparent, and transparent color. There's different places I'll be doing that. So I'm leaving like a semi-transparent quality in these trees right now. But I think the ground will be a little more opaque, and then of course highlight areas for the boat will be as well. They'll be more opaque when they get to the light, but we'll discuss, I'll remind you as I go along. But I'm just going to lay in this background here. And you can vary it a little bit too, and you should. Don't paint every single tree the same color. Like I'll make that part a little bit warmer, and then I might make the trees on the left a little bit more turquoise with a little bit more white in them, so that everything's a little bit variation in nature. That's what you want to see, variation, right? So that we have all that blocked in right like that. And is there too much glare on that?
No.
Is that
Well, tilt your board. We lost because it got very bright, so we couldn't see the when you're not leaning forward, when it's in shadow, we can see your sketch a little bit, but we kind of are losing the sketch because it's so bright.
Oh, okay.
It's fine though, I think.
Okay, so then what I'll do is I'm going to let that harden up a little bit, and I'm going to go to the land in the background. So I'll be using the turquoise again because I want to keep it cooler, more of a greenish. And now I'll take the brilliant yellow and I'll mix those two together. And I might throw a little orange in there too to make it a little more earthy. And again, just like I said prior about the trees, you want to make variations of the ground. You don't want to make it all the same color. Don't get trapped into just painting all the way across with the same color. So I'm going to block in here. And I could pull back on my handle of my brush to make a different kind of rhythm in the paint as well. And just like we spoke about before, I can make this part of the hill a lot cooler back there. You see that? See how I'm making that a lot cooler? Varying that, right? It just makes wonderful different options within your green limit. Your green, I should not say limit, your variety of colors that you're using. So you can really have that variation from really cool to a little bit warmer. And then we'll also go, I've been studying, I think I'm going to write a new article, and it's going to be about gradation in painting, because I think it's a very interesting subject to talk about, gradation in painting. And I don't have all the words in my head, but I think that's going to be a proposed new article for me. Maybe it'll show up in Plainer magazine, I don't know, but it'll be about how there's gradation effects, not only in value, but also in color too. Meaning that you have this variation from warm to cool and you light to dark, That's all very important stuff in our paintings when we're interested in capturing some sort of realism in the painting. Now, realism is a big term because it doesn't mean that it has to be exactly this or that, but it has a sense of life in it that we see. Now, I was at this scene and I did paint it actually there. It was going pretty well, but I got distracted by these fellows who kept asking me questions. And I was doing good for about 40 minutes and then I failed miserably. But I had a good reference that I left with. I think I destroyed the sketch, but the memory, this is where memory painting is so powerful. The memory of the scene is still locked in my head, even though it was about a year ago. I still remember the feeling when I was looking across this scene. Because I painted it, you make a much stronger connection to things after you experience it in a painting. It's just a wonderful recording, a visual recording for artists in their brain. We don't realize how powerful that is, but I can remember the scene. Okay, so I have all that accomplished and I'll go back now to the sky. I left the sky because I wanted to register it the right way according to the trees. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use the ultramarine now. I'm going to take that and I'll use the white again. And I'm using a lot of white in my painting because first of all, it's gouache. So it kind of leans that way, but I don't want it this blue. I'm going to take a little bit of the turquoise and mix it in there. This way it kind of connects with the landscape a little bit more. And then I know that if you're looking at a landscape, you know you're going to go from dark to light in the sky, even in the middle of the day, because as you get closer to the horizon, it's going to get lighter. So I'm going to dash in some of this just at the very top, the darker part of the sky. And then I'm going to immediately change. I'm going to go to a much more, I clean my brush out totally in the water. I'm going to go to a much more transparent experience underneath that. You see that? And the fact that I have this board, this bedside table, which I love, if you guys are thinking of something to use that doesn't take up a lot of space in your house that you want to do your watercolor on, this is a really good thing. I just painted the top gray and put a little piece of plexiglass in there because I use it for multi-purposes. But it's so handy because you can angle it any way you want. Now, instead of me trying to paint around and get some sky effects, I can actually take the rag that we talked about and I can increase the lift rubbing on this paper. And this paper is pretty tough, so I can lift it. I can increase the pressure and I could put some variation in the sky and kind of lift that out and get it to where I want. I can come back to that later, but at least I have that laid in. And then I'll continue to work more forward here. So I have a building on the right. It's like a shed where I guess they put all their crab cages and what have you. And so that's kind of like a greenish color too, but I'm going to mute it now with a little bit of burnt sienna and make it a little dirty. And I'm going to start to paint that side of the shed.
Joe, someone suggested, Pat suggested that you might be, if you can limit the light source a little bit, it'll be a little less white out on the painting. I don't know if you can move your lamp back a little.
I can limit it. Tell me when it's better. Ready? I can limit, ready?
Right, let's see.
Wait,
More,
wait, I could go. Is that better?
no.
No.
No?
No,
Oh,
Okay, I know what it is. It's the angle.
mhm.
okay. Tilt.
Is it
No.
more?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Flatten it out a little bit, maybe.
That's better.
That is better.
That's a
Okay,
little better. That's
yeah,
much
you
better.
guys-
Yeah, it has to do, I think, with when your body is shielding it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
better, but I think,
And while we're still interrupting, can you please repeat what your surface is that you're working on? Your table, what is this again? Can you please explain?
This is just, wait, let me deal with this. Let me deal with the light thing first. Hold on. I'm gonna put my water up here and then I could tilt it better, flatter. I don't know.
nah, I think it's well, I think that's what we got.
Yeah, it's difficult to see the drawing. I don't see the drawing at all.
Okay, hold on. We gotta work with it. Wait a minute. Let's just try different whites up on the light because I have that ability. Is that better? No,
Nope,
not any better.
nope.
Joe, can you show us the photo? And if you show us the photo, then we don't need to see the drawing. We can relate to what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, the drawing pops in and out depending on,
Hold on one second.
yep.
Because this is the first time I used it for the watercolor under this new light, so it's something I gotta adjust. Hold on.
So when we edit this for posting on the website, do you think we should leave this part in?
Yeah.
Maybe. Just let me try. Let me just try this. It might be totally different than if I, it's gonna darken the palette though, but
That's fine.
wait, let me just see something. Is that better?
No,
Or worse?
No,
Not
no.
yet.
I think the idea with the photo for us to see the photo somewhere on the screen, so we can at least do some drawing of the scene, it would be great. Well, the other lady,
Just put your photo on your
Yeah.
thing there so we can
to
see.
the
what you
side
did.
of your painting.
Oh,
Just
okay, all
bring
right.
your- yeah. Are people painting along?
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
but I wanted to relate to what he was doing since I
Right.
couldn't see the drawing.
Right.
I am painting along.
Yay.
I'm sorry, people, but little technical difficulty.
Everything is a process,
That's
right?
all right. Thank you, Joe. That looks great.
Okay, all right. So, where was I? Okay, so now I'll go back to the shed. I'm glad that you spoke up because you don't want to go through a demo miserable like that. I'm gonna try one more thing too. Hold on. Is that better?
It was for a minute. There, oh, there.
Somewhat better, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, well, it's a lot darker. Well, that's pretty wild. Okay,
That's better. That's good.
It is better.
it's good for you, but it's pretty dark for me now. But all right. So anyway, I'll try painting.
Oh, now it's blurry.
It's what?
Yeah,
Blurry.
yeah, it's still blurry, yeah. It got out of focus.
Wait, let me try this.
No,
Boy.
Mm-mm. Very blurry.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
There
you go.
There you go.
Okay,
That's better.
all right,
Yay.
let's leave it right there.
Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
now, I'm gonna put in this, I gotta watch my time here. I gotta paint faster now. Okay, so, I'm gonna put in this shed. And I'm taking the ultramarine blue, a little bit of the burnt sienna, like I told you, and maybe a little bit of the white. And I'm laying in this whole shed. The sides, the top is getting a lot of sunlight, so we'll leave that for now. And then I'm gonna move to the boat. I'll move to the boat. So we're gonna get the ultramarine blue with white.
Oh, adventure?
We're gonna get a little bit of cad red in there. It's like not a brilliant violet, but a low-key violet.
Oh, yeah, in the, you're gonna come over here, we're gonna do maybe an art project or do whatever you feel like doing. And then on the way home, we're gonna stop somewhere and, have some fun.
Tess, you're not muted.
Okay, so I'm blocking in the boat, as you can see, getting in the side.
No.
And then the front of the boat is very deep. So I'm gonna take the burnt sienna, the ultramarine blue, a little bit of the yellow, and I'm gonna keep it a little bit more on the warmer side because we really want the warmness of this, and I'm kind of painting this little curve on the boat as I go along here, and then laying this in. Now, before this dries, I want to play with the color a little bit. I don't want it to be that same solid color. So I'll take a little bit of the burnt sienna and I'll mix that in there. There's a little bit of rust on the side of the boat, and we'll block that in. So it's semi-transparent, but it's very deep. And this is a good example. I love that happened in the video because I'm going to turn it around on you guys. Even if the colors, you can't see them as well as when I started, everything changes. But the only thing that you have that has to be constant is the value. Colors can be changed all the time. But if you have control of your values, the painting will work. So this is really actually a blessing that light was all whacked out for you. And then I had to change it because now I'm painting in lower light, but I'm holding on to my value structure more than anything. So that's really a great lesson for everyone to know about painting and painting what you see. You have to colors can change, but value is what is value in your design is what's going to hold your painting together. All right, so now I'm going to put the dock in behind here. And I'm using several different techniques here. I'm using the white of the paper and also to show the sunlight, I'll be putting color on top of that, but I'm going to save it like a traditional watercolor. And then I'm using the semi-transparent, and sometimes I'm going to get very opaque in some areas eventually. So I'm bringing that up. But if you see my technique, I go right for the finish of the painting as fast as I can. I have found in watercolor, and I'm sure there's a lot of you on this video that know this, if you have to rework areas too much, it kind of loses the vibrancy of the painting. And that's what we're talking about today, spontaneous. So part of the trick of being spontaneous is hitting the value structure right away so that you don't have to keep going over it. I know there's techniques in watercolor where you start very subtle and you keep building and building, but that is not my personality, not my preference. But yes, there's nothing wrong with that. Those are not the techniques that I prefer, because I use this as a close kin to my acrylic painting and my oil painting. So if you understand where I'm coming from, I like to get solidity, solid forms in really fast, especially if I'm playing or painting outside and I wasn't talking here, I would paint a lot faster. Okay, so now I'm going to get the water reflection in. We might go a little bit over because of the technical difficulty, but if you're willing to hang with me, I'm going to finish this painting. Okay, so this is like a greenish, pretty deep water reflection. And I'm going to lay that in really beautiful against those light spots. And I'll work that completely in here and just totally take out this corner because this is all dark. And I don't want to go any further with that right now because I don't want to paint around the reflection shape. So what I'll do is I'll go into the water, and I know the water is going to be darker than the sky. These are just rules that I'm not saying you have to live by them every time, but these are rules of nature. It's not Joe G or artists. It's what we see that we learn outside is that the water is always going to be a little darker than the sky most of the time in the sunlight. So I'm going to put this business in here. And I will, again, transparentize it a little bit by just adding more water to it. And I will block this in. And I may, as I get down to the bottom, again, like we talked gradation, I might gradate it a little bit with a little bit dirty burnt sienna or what have you. I'm not thinking about that too much, but I'm trying to hold on to the value structure. So get that laid in. But here's the trick with the other technique. While that's on there right now like that, I will lift some of this out and I will take it back onto the rag. So I'm going to lighten this up and then I'll let this dry or harden up a little bit and then we'll come back and finish that. But while that's happening, we can even add a little water. I'm sure you guys have done this. You could get drip effects. That's really wonderful. Adding a little bit of water in there, letting it drip, letting all this business happen in a more spontaneous fashion. We'll come back to that, right? So now we got our water set up.
What paper are you using?
I am using the, oh God, what did I do with it? We got all shifted around here and moved it. Oh, the mineral paper by Yasumoto, multimedia paper by Yasumoto. Okay, now I'm going to put in more of the dots. So I'll take the burnt sienna, the ultramarine blue, and I will start to cut out the front end of the boat. This is like a crabbing boat, shrimp boat. I don't know what they are, but not really a fisher person. My son is, but I'm not. So, but anyway, this, you see how I cut the front out of the boat there? And you're doing two things at once. You're putting, like Charles Hawthorne said on painting, spot of color by spot of color, right? I always follow that rule. It works for me every time. So I'll put a sharp edge right here by the boat. I'm giving the boat now light, automatic light. So you can see this develops pretty fast now once you get things in place. And as I said, if you're loyal to your values, you can't go wrong. Even if somebody changes the light on you, I have enough experience now over the years that those kind of things don't really rattle me in a demo anymore. But if I was a younger artist, I would be freaking out saying, oh my God, I had the whole thing like this and now it's like this. It doesn't matter because I know how to control the painting. So I'm putting in the, this little, it looks like baskets. They're baskets for the fishermen when they, I guess, when they come back to the dock, they have all their catch in there. And I'll just block all this in here. You can see how lively all those parts and pieces of the painting are now together in a short amount of time. So I'm going to develop a little bit of these, and still I'm using the same brush. By the way, this is a fantastic brush, Dynasty, and it's so you can buy it at Blick. It's fine Kolinsky Dynasty brush from FM Brush. They make really good brushes. And so there's different kinds of poles back here and the dock. And we're closing in on those light shapes. Go ahead. There was a question.
Can I ask a couple questions that have been piling up?
Sure, go ahead.
Someone in general, when she uses gouache, it tends to dry out quickly. Do you have any tips on how to keep it moist?
If you work on this type of paper, it'll actually stay moist longer. Like I don't want it to stay moist that long, but it's because this is less absorbent. The best way to do that on traditional paper is take crystal clear Krylon, spray it lightly on there, and it won't absorb so fast. So if watercolor or gouache can't be absorbed at a quick rate, it won't dry either. That's a trick that a lot of artists know. If you stop the absorbency, it'll slow down the drying time. That'll help you greatly. Okay, so I put in that doorway, and that doorway comes all the way down, going into the engine room or whatever you have there. And then there's a little window on the side. Now that dark in the shadow is a little bit reflective. So I'm going to take the gold, the ochre, and I'll put that on the side. And there's also a window. And another window, but it looks a little bit more opaque here. And then it's going behind. There's going to be a mask there. It's kind of a grayish mask. So I want to start that mask from dark. Again, we talked about that in the very beginning. I'm gonna write an article about it, but it's gonna be about gradation. But we can take, oops, I need the bigger one. I don't have it. I'll have to take a brush. If you don't have a straight edge, if you just take another brush, like I'm doing here, I do this in my plein air techniques a lot. I'll put the brush down and I'll just hold it, and then I'll go just over the piece. And if you don't have it perfect, it didn't come out perfect, I don't want it perfect, because especially in this technique, if I make everything perfect, it's not going to have that spontaneous feel. So when you start overworking your shapes, that's when it starts to get boring. So there is something about leaving it, even if it's not perfect. I have told my students that over and over again over the years. It's better to leave stuff a little unfinished than to have an overcooked steak. So back in the background, there is that water reflecting a little bit underneath the dock here. It's kind of ochre, greenish. I don't know exactly the color, but I'm putting in some darks against the light of the boat, because the light on the boat is getting a tremendous amount of sunlight on the top of the on the top of the boat, because it's the flat part hitting all the sun. So we have to be aware of that. And then there's like this beautiful, some little notes of gold. There's a opportunity to make a little lifesaver ring there, a shape. And there's a little wheel out there. We can actually do, I'm going to go back to a thing that I like to do as well. I could go back and I could put some of this in with a dark pen, with the pencil, because it's a number 4 B. I could put in little details like that and get in there and get out rather quickly. So I could go in and redraw areas. Edward Hopper did this and made no apology for leaving, John Singer Sargent and Homer left no apology for leaving drawing lines in their watercolor. You know, I think it's great, you know, to have some liveliness with sketching going on there. You can go back and forth with that. Just have a lot of fun with it, you know, really loosen up. Now, before we finish up with the lights, we're doing good. I caught up now, you see? And I'm talking too. I don't know how. Okay, so now the top of this little shack, fishing shack, is the opaque white with a little bit of orange in there. I really like to go orange, yellow, and a little white for those bright spots. It really makes them sing against those blue, like blue violet spots that we have in the shadows that we were describing before. So I could put that in and it really cleans it up nice, and it'll go over your pencil too. Now I notice I want a little bit of a shadow on the top part by the door here. Just coming over that so that it feels like shadows coming over some of these little areas. And you could see how just in those couple strokes, how lively that became now. And I'll take the white again, charge it with a little bit of the brilliant yellow gouache and a little bit of the orange watercolor. And I'll go on the rooftop. And I'm changing the roof a little bit more rounder. I want it to look like a really old time boat. They were a little bit more round on the top there. And I'll put that in, and I'll put some highlights on the edge of the boat here. And I could go back. I didn't save those with the white of the paper, but it doesn't matter. When you paint this way, more spontaneous and more opaquely, you have a lot of options to go back and actually return an effect to it. So you can see all this really come together. You can also see how the background played out really nice. It falls back from all this darker valued stuff. And right towards the end here, we'll leave time at the end. We're going to go over a little bit. I'll take questions and we'll discuss some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I have a few questions piled up for you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm taking yellow ochre, the turquoise color, and a little burnt sienna, and making that ugly. I'm going to take a lot more burnt sienna, make an ugly kind of green muddish color. And I'm going to start to indicate some of the reflection, more of the reflection, I should say. I had part of it, but remember we were going to leave this out till that got hardened, right? Now we're putting it in. You know how wonderful that effect is now? Now the baskets are up here, so we'll have them in the water, and we'll just move along there at a nice rate. and we'll create all this. You can actually use your finger. Yes, it is permitted. I smear stuff like that, and I get this really wonderful effect. Now I have to bring that new wet color into that shadow more so that they merge together. And I might take a shot at the side of the boat again, a little bit deeper, but you can see how effective that is pretty quick. And I'm doing this, you know, very fast to show you, but there's a little bit of shadow back here too. And now I don't want to make that as dark as the one in the foreground, but it's still apparent and it's reflecting some of the dock. No, can't get that color in there. Come on, Joseph. Get it? Get the value down. Okay, now I can put it here and just kind of indicate those kind of effects. I could put a little door on the shack back here. And what I'm going to do is put a couple more of these poles. I did other sketches this where I had too many verticals. I didn't care for it. But I learned my lesson from that. Doing it over and over again is also a good thing. Doing a few sketches really helps because then it gives you like, you know, experience of the scene, plus your memory, and then you could tailor to the way that you want. You can move things around the way that you see fit. But now I'm not going to add as many as I did in the other sketch. And, you know, that has a nice balance to it now. And I'll actually make this top part a little bit darker on that mask and not all the way down, because that's the way it looks in life. It actually gets lighter. Poles and things vertical actually get lighter as they get towards the bottom. You see that gradation effect again we're talking about? I don't know if I want to touch the side of the boat. It's really beautiful. If you were here in the room with me, you would see it's got this beautiful quality to it where it's semi-transparent and it's scratchy. It's just got that lovely spontaneous effect. Now there's a couple of, wait, I want to make this one pole a little bit taller. And then there's a line. Now I'm not going to paint the line. I'm going to draw the lines. So I could do that like that. And you might not see all that, but if you were here in person, I'm just giving you an idea of some things that you can do. You can get that kind of effect there. And I could go back even to looking at the clock. I have just a couple minutes here. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow on this side of the landscape, on the ground. That's really nice. And I could actually make a little bit more of an earth tone, taking the orange, the burnt sienna, the white again. And I could just put a couple little notes there just to show like different kind of earth color going on there. And you could keep going, tweaking it, lifting it. But I want to show you one thing at the end before we finish. So I take another palette and I'm just going to clip this on here real fast. I'll take the white, the acrylic, and I'll take the CAD-free yellow medium, which we came out with 2 years ago now. They're really wonderful. And I'll take them too with the brush I told you about, the Blick Master Stroke. I'll wet that a little bit, the bristle, and then I'll take up some of the white with the yellow. And now I can leave that kind of heavy. And I could take the way I would paint normally with oil or acrylic. I would take the brush like this, hand like that, and then I could lay in some real impasto color. So now we have acrylic, watercolor, and gouache together. And I could just make a couple accents or, you know, put this thicker notes. I'm sure if Sargent or Homer or those guys were around, and acrylic was invented, then they would use it because they used impasto techniques on their paintings. When I went to the Brooklyn Museum and saw the show one time, I that was the first thing I noticed. Impasto technique that they were both employing in their paintings. And so I could do a little bit on the roof, always paint in the direction of the angle of something. So the roof is going down like this, so I'll let it go like that. And if you were here, again, those are the unfortunate things. You can't see all these little things, but you would see the effect of the impasto being on top of that, all that other built up paint. But I think you get an idea. I did another version here. This is a little bit bigger, this boat. It's kind of got a nice feel too, but I did that version before it. And the tree is more or less moved over closer to the boat here. And then I pushed it in the design more that way. So you could keep doing these. And the great part is, you know, these sheets are so much fun to work with. You don't even have to waste them. You could work on the back of them, do another painting even. That's how strong they are. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to switch over to my face, or maybe I should leave it like that so you could look at it. And then I'll take some questions.
Right. I have a couple that were piled up from the chat that I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
And then people can individually ask after that. So you just mentioned, you just held up your mineral paper. So a question was, will the mineral paper hold up to traditional watercolor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you can use that for oil, acrylic, watercolor, gouache. I don't know about pastel, but you could definitely use it for those.
And then also about getting back to gouache. Another question was, when gouache dries on your palette, can you reconstitute it? And then after that also, can you please tell us what brand of gouache you were using?
I was using the Gyurcsak brand for all the mediums that I use today. So it's the Gyurcsak gouache, the Gyurcsak watercolor, and the acrylics. I mean, being that I'm the brand manager, you would expect no less.
Yeah. And then how do you reconstitute it if it's dried on your palette?
You know, the watercolor, that's a really good question. The watercolor can be reconstituted more openly, but the gouache, not as much, because it is the difference between the two is that it's opaque watercolor, right? So it has a little bit stronger binding ability in it, and it's more opaque. So I find it to dry a little bit harder than watercolor, but that's a very good question. You could try to wet it, but it might not. Yeah, I did demos for you guys in the past, and I always relate to my Italian background. You got to make the gravy or the sauce when you're painting. If I didn't talk about that today, but when you're painting with watercolor gouache, you got to have it real saucy. So the idea of reconstituting the dry stuff, for me personally, I feel like I wouldn't be able to get enough of that concentrated sauce to put down, because I rather go overboard with the depth of the color and then lift it later than have it too faint and too timid in the beginning. Then I feel like I told you before, for me, it's just me. I'm not saying these are set rules, but I find if I have to rework the watercolor or the gouache too many times, it kind of kills the energy of it for me.
Okay. And another question was when you were mentioning about the Krylon, and you could put that on your paper to prevent some absorbency. Can you also do that as a underneath an acrylic. Same idea. Can you use it with acrylic on top?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I don't think it's going to buy you that much time for that. It's very noticeable with watercolor. That's a good question again. It's much more noticeable on watercolor paper for watercolor and gouache that because it can't absorb, it'll stay open a little bit longer and it'll spread a little bit more fluid. That's a trick that I found out many years ago, and I started using that in my workshops. And I was trying to because the problem for me is nobody brings the same kind of material to a workshop. Everybody brings something different. And I figured if people were bringing cheaper pulp paper or this and that, how can we get past that so that they can get the same kind of feeling as somebody that brought a much more expensive paper? And I thought about this for a long time. And one of the problems is that the sizing is not as good on the cheaper paper. So how do you overcome that? And it was an experimental thing that I did. And I realized, oh my God, this crystal clear Krylon, if not overdone on the paper, blocks the watercolor, the gouache from going in too fast and lifts up the quality of the paper for you. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. Because for me, I don't like, again, it's me, again, my preference. Because you're in my studio today, I don't like soft watercolor papers. I don't like when colors go in too fast. I like them to stand on the surface. I like that color energy. I like that saucy mix that happens when it doesn't go in too fast. And that's a big problem for me personally when I'm painting. If it gets too soft and it's too absorbent, I don't like it. It's not one of my favorite things to do. I struggle with that when I paint in watercolor.
Mhm. Okay, and the last question that I have for you is, can you explain again about your tilting table? And while you're explaining what it is or what product it is, can you also tilt your painting a little flatter? Some people would like to see it or more on a flat.
So you said that was a bedside table or a tray table?
Yeah, that's one of those hospital those bedside tables.
Okay.
You can now everybody's going to go buy it today on Amazon because it's on sale today. But I'm just saying, yeah, I bought this and never realized how valuable it is because I use it for a lot of things. But I might get another one for the studio because it's so handy. I just love that it could tilt for like we did today, and I'll be using it later on my Blick Facebook Live just as a neutral palette underneath for my oil painting that I'll be doing the painting at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So you could sign up for that too. It'll be the same scene, but in oil today.
And how would they do that? How would they sign up? Because we don't have the.
I don't even know if you if you have Facebook, you just go to Blick Facebook Live. You just jump on there. It'll be on at 5 o'clock.
Okay, that's good hint. That's good.
Yeah, I don't think you have to register for it. I'm not sure how that works, but it'll be at 5 o'clock.
Awesome.
Yeah. Joe, is there a maker's name on that bedside table?
Okay, now you're really.
We could also, I think we're going to be posting this recording and we'll put a finished image of the painting. And if maybe he can provide that information at that time.
Yeah, you have no idea how many they might have on, the quality. What he uses probably better.
Right.
Better. It's called Von Medical. VAU. Wait, what was that?
GN.
Von Medical. The company, but listen, if you just go on Amazon, you're going to see them.
Okay.
Just make sure you get the one with the metal legs and stuff. You got to assemble a little bit of it, but it goes up and down. It goes pretty high, it goes pretty low, and both parts of the table tilt. It's really like, it's a great little studio thing. I don't know why they wouldn't sell that as a artist product, you know, in the art stores.
Right.
It's very clever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so somebody says Macy's has it for $89.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go.
Are the last couple minutes, if anybody has any other questions for Joe.
Yeah, while you're waiting there, I'll just show you a couple more. This is a portrait in the same kind of technique. And let me get another one. This is on watercolor paper. Like I told you, I'm more an opaque kind of guy. So this is a tow truck in Cranberry.
I love that.
Yeah. That's just a very graphic idea that I'm playing with. I'm actually going to go back there and paint it from life, but I couldn't do it yet. So I was working from a photo reference for this. But anyway, just gives you an idea. Like this gets very opaque. This is a fluid watercolor paper. It's cold press. It's 140 pound, but I think I sprayed the surface a little bit with the crystal clear.
Great. Okay, I guess our last comment
Yep.
is great job, great tips, good instruction. Thanks so much, Joe.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say the Garden State Watercolor Society is a very important group of artists in New Jersey, and I do demos all over the world now with the Zoom, but it's just great. I wanted to share. I told Judith and Tess that I wanted to give back to the society today, and I'm just glad that all the people that attended could get a little lesson today, and we could do this thing.
I would like to thank you very much to everybody. I'm a new member and I painted along for the first time in my life. And I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Good. That's what
Thank you,
we're
Joe.
all about, thinking outside the box, providing everybody with a little inspiration. And thank you, Joe, so much. And I'll let you know when we've got the video recorded. I'd like you to take a good photo of your painting that you did today and send it to us so we can post it.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Especially I see Suzanne from, Suzanne, how are you? From Michigan, right?
Thank you.
Oh,
I was going to say, it's been wonderful to be with you today, and I'm here in Michigan watching.
awesome.
Wonderful.
Technology makes it possible. I did want to ask him the maker of the mineral paper he uses. How do you spell that?
Oh, Yasumoto. YASUTOMO. Yasumoto. You could get that on the Blick website. Wait, I'll show you on the video again. You could buy this on the Blick website.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. Good.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're going to end it now. Thanks, Judy, for your help. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
And
now-
Thank you.
Participated.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Great demo.
Bye.
Thank you, Garden State.
Thank you.
Bye.